All right, our next guest was born with no legs and one arm. He could have easily given up on life, but instead he decided to become a motivational speaker for Fortune 500 companies, athletes, and college campuses across the United States. Introducing Nick Santonastasso.
How you doing, brother?
Did I say your name right?
Santonastasso? Yeah, I'll take it. I'm in.
Santonastasso. Oh,
yeah, perfect.
First and foremost, this guy is like one of the most inspirational people I've ever seen online. I want to be like best friends with you because you gave me so much joy watching your videos and inspiration. I tell you my kids about you, not to like kiss your butt too much, but let's start off by showing the sizzle reel so you guys get an idea of what he's all about.
The majority of you, when I say the word failure or defeat, you will immediately correlate it with negative. If we can change that perspective, we can get you guys to walk out that door and start embracing failure. We wouldn't know what the wins feel like if we never lost.
As long as we are moving forward, if it's professionally, financially, emotionally, spiritually, as long as you are getting better each and every day, you're winning. It wasn't the fact that I had no legs and one arm. I didn't even look at any of this because I knew that my hard work and dedication would simply make up for my lack of limbs. I thought to myself, imagine how many lives I could change, how many perspectives I could change for the better if I focused my energy on helping people.
I can't describe how impactful that event was. It was like he alleviated everyone's pain and problems, and it carried on.
I was put on this earth to be, an example, to show people what they're truly capable of.
That was a very powerful video, and I got to tell you, this guy is so inspiring. I have to tell you, out of all the people I've interviewed on The Vault, this is probably one of the most excited I've ever been for a guest. Wow. Because I think I just connect with your message, which is just success through failure. And like Nick, I mean, you swim with sharks, you climb mountains, you're in hot air balloons, and you're just showing people with like your deeds that anything is possible. We're going to cut right into our first question. I know that you were born with hand-heart syndrome. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you talk to us a little bit about your childhood and how that was?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, which probably the majority of the world doesn't know, hand-heart syndrome is a super rare genetic disorder that either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs. And so when I was born, I'm 23. When I was born in 1996, I was the 12th case in the world at the time that they've ever seen this happen to. And out of the 12, 8 of them have passed away due to undeveloped organs. And so basically, like I said, the babies are either born with undeveloped organs or undeveloped limbs. I got the limbs part. And so they tested my organs and they came back 100% healthy. And so, my parents sat me down at an early age and was like, dude, you're born with no legs and one arm, and this is how it is. And, you're going to have to adapt things and you're going to have to figure out how to do things your way. And so my biggest advantage my parents gave me from an early age was they treated me normal. And, there's no secret sauce. There's no secret formula. My parents treated me normal and they let me fall on my face, how we were talking about failure, failure leads to success. I got beat up on my siblings. They would put my clothes in front of me and say, all right, Nick, tinker with it, figure it out. And I don't even think they knew now that I'm thinking about it like that. I don't even think they knew, but basically they exercised my muscle of problem and solution. So basically, everything was a problem or everything was a challenge for me, whether it was getting on a chair, putting my clothes on, eating my food, getting around the house, like everything was a challenge. And the more they just, let me figure out the solutions, I think I exercise the muscle of problem and solution. And so everything that I view in life is just like, challenge, how are we going to break through it? Are we going to go left? Are we going to go right? Are we going to go over it? And I think oftentimes, now in the current day, parents are handicapping their kids. The full-bodied kids are getting handicapped because of the coddling syndrome, right? They're getting coddled. They don't want their kids to fall. They do. I'll put your shoes on for you. I'll put your clothes on for you. But little do they know those little things, I think, are handicapping and limiting their children.
Wow. I mean, as someone who has 2 kids myself, I've been guilty of that a couple times, just trying to shelter my daughters from the outside craziness of the world. But I think what your mom did and your family is they kind of like created a diamond out of coal. You know, they put all this pressure on you, and now you're like rising to the top. You're this shiny object now that's amazing and inspirational.
Yeah, but it wasn't always like that, you know?
Of course. I mean, you've probably seen a lot of struggle. Just, I mean, even, you know, in the first part.
Up until, you know, I was 17 years old, I'm 23. So we were just, I've only been like this human for like 6 years, not even, you know, like this new evolved person, not even, I would say like 3 years, right?
2.0.
Yeah, the 2.0, always evolving, right? But the majority of my life, man, I was just like, why me? You know, this is so crappy. You know, why do I have to be born like this? You know, why do the kids got to make fun of me? Why does it take me so long to plug in a phone charger? And why did, like, dude, like little stuff would piss me off, you know? And, you know, and through that stuff, it was me having a really honest conversation with myself in middle school and high school and said, Nick, you know, what are you going to do to dig yourself out of this hole? Because no one's coming to save you, you know, like, you can't switch your body. Like, sorry, you can't jump into a new avatar, right? Like, this game don't work like that. And so, like, what are you going to do with what you have to live a fulfilled life, to live your best life? And, you know, it wasn't until, you know, I committed to wrestling. I don't know. I can keep babbling, but you can ask the questions.
No, but actually, that was my next question. I wanted to talk to you about how wrestling changed your life.
Yeah. So wrestling saved my life because I was, you know, an out of shape, depressed kid, suicidal. You know, I just, you know, was very uncomfortable in my skin and didn't want to live in my body anymore. And so I was looking for a way out, as in like a sport or an extracurricular activity, so I could be with my friends more, you know, be around my buddies. And I'm from New Jersey, and wrestling's a massive deal. It's like a religion. And so all my buddies were wrestlers. My older brother was a wrestler. I never got to go to high school with him, but I always looked up to him. I thought wrestlers were the coolest thing ever. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I was a kid that, like I said, I thought you were either born with confidence or you didn't have it. But I realized confidence is a skill. It's something we acquire. And, you know, how we acquire that is we commit to things and we follow through. And so oftentimes, you know, I'm guilty of it. We're guilty of it as humans, that there's so many things in life that we commit to and we don't follow through on, you know, and every time we commit to something and we don't follow through, we diminish our self-value and the way we view ourselves. And oftentimes so many people are seeking validation or seeking, you know, praise or seeking you can do it from other people, when really the only person you should be seeking praise from is yourself. You know, like, you got to bet on yourself. Like, you got to crown yourself before anyone crowns you. And so I was like, dude, you need to do something to get yourself out of this hole. And so I wanted to become a wrestler. And I weighed, to give a little context, I weighed roughly 80 pounds. And I was wrestling in the category of 106 pounds. And so, you know, all the guys were heavier than me, but they were still little guys. Like, 106 pounders are little dudes. You know, if I had legs, I'd be bigger than a 106 pounder. So, like, I knew, like, my upper body, like, I'm pretty beastly, you know, I'm not a 106 pounder.
Yeah.
But it was funny because usually in wrestling, you have to cut weight. I had to stuff my face in order to gain 5 pounds to be eligible to wrestle varsity. So you had to be at least 85 pounds to wrestle varsity. And so I was stuffing my face in a locker room. Sometimes my boys would be like, dude, we should put weights in your pants. Like, they'll never know. And you can step on the scale with weights in your pants. But yeah, for me, you know, like, the thing is, I knew that if I stepped out on the wrestling mat, you know, and I got my butt kicked, like, people would give me a standing ovation because I have no legs, one arm. That's not me. You know, I want to beat people up, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, my junior year, I got beat up, and I told my buddies in the room, I said, guys, do not hold back on me. Like, destroy me, because through you destroying me, I'm gonna figure out what I can do to get over on you. I'm gonna figure out how I could become the best wrestler I could possibly be. And that was the same approach my parents took. I was just modeling the approach my parents took. My parents didn't hold back on me. They let me fall on my face. They let me fall off the chair. They let me fall off the wheelchair. They let me learn through, like, real life failure, you know? And so, you know, I used that approach in the wrestling room, and asking you shall receive. I got my butt kicked in the wrestling room. Uh-huh. And, you know, there was moments where there would be exercises, or, you know, there would be little games we played in the wrestling room where basically like 5 people in your weight class would stand in a circle and you would be in the middle. And you had to get 5 takedowns or else you can't get out of the middle. Well, guess who can't get 5 takedowns? The kid with no legs and one arm who's struggling. And so I would be getting beat up like 30, 40 minutes straight and not getting the takedown legit. And, you know, sometimes they'd like almost let me get over on them, and they flip me over and just like destroy me. And that built me. Because if I was in the wrestling room, and this is an analogy not only for wrestling, but for business and personal life. If you're in the trenches of your business, if you're in the wrestling room of your business, right, and people are holding back on you and giving you easy wins, when you step into a situation where life is really going to hit you, you're going to get smacked in the face. You're going to get smacked in the face by reality. And I didn't want that to happen to me. I wanted to prepare in practice as if it was real life, as if, that guy was trying to kill me, that guy wanted to pin me. And another thing that's with wrestling that, sculpts you into something so amazing is it's only you on the mat. Like, it's a 1v1 sport. You can't hide behind any other players. Like, it's you getting your butt kicked in front of everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so, for me, the one thing I analyze with wrestling and as a team is, with wrestling, if you get pinned, which means both your shoulder blades get put on the back, that means the opposite team gets the full 6 points. They get the full amount of points that they can get. And so what I've realized, I was looking at, I was at matches and I was like, man, we have guys on our team that are getting pinned. If I can stay off my back and get beat by points, I'm bringing more value. Even if I lose, I'm still giving them less points than I would if I went to my back. So I thought in my head, dude, if you could stay off your back, you're valuable. You're really valuable. Because, right, you have people on your team that are going to get the points. You have people on your team that are going to get the pins. And then you have people that are going to get pinned and give up all the points. And then you have the guys that they're scrawny, they're scrappy, and they're not going to give up all the points. I was that guy. Uh-huh. So whether I won with points or a pin, whether I only won 2 or 3 matches in my whole career, but the times where I got beat by a decision, by points, and I didn't get pinned, those were all wins for me.
Oh yeah.
And that built me. I was labeled as a wrestler, which was badass to me. I was labeled as an athlete, which was so cool to me. After people said you can't be a wrestler, you can't be an athlete, little do they know I was just building the relationship I had within myself. And that's the most important thing. You want to make more money in your life. You want to live a healthier life. You want to have a fit body. You want to be a better father, dad, mother, whatever it may be. You need to build a better relationship within yourself. Because when you build a better relationship within yourself, then you show up better. You show up who you are. You know your work ethic. You know who you are. And when you say things are going to get done, they get done. And so you can just show up a better you. It just comes down to your relationship, man. The relationship you have within yourself. Like I said, so many people are seeking validation from other people. They're waiting for their mentor to say, go, take that step. No, bet on yourself.
I gotta tell you, I'm super impressed. I mean, at 23, I was not halfway where you are right now in knowing who I am. And I did get to the point that you're at right now, where I just had to just say, you know what, screw all the haters. I'm gonna just rely on my own skills to make, what I gotta do here in this world and fulfill my dreams. But it took me a long time to kind of figure out that on my own. And I had different struggles, but I think you kind of had a concentrated boot camp that I think allowed you to get to that place further, faster.
I believe too. Yeah.
I love that now you are kind of like a megaphone for letting people know what their true potential is. And I think that that's one of the purposes that I see that you've identified for yourself. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I want to touch as many people as I can, right? I want to, and motivation's great, inspiration's great, but I think the most important thing is shifting behavior and shifting the patterns and shifting people's perspectives, right? To get them to look at the world differently. And so I want to show people, like, I'm not up on stage saying, you dictate, you guys need to do this. I wanted to show people firsthand that I am a prime example of when you throw yourselves in uncomfortable situations, or even if you're born in an uncomfortable situation, that leads to massive growth. And, a lot of times when we're in the guck, when we're in the muck, like when I'm in that victim mentality, when I was in middle school and high school, like we don't see the greater meaning behind it. We don't see the why, right? But as we self-reflect, I realized that all this was sculpting me into the man I am today. All the hardships, all the, the little making fun ofs, like everything has sculpted me into the man I am today. And I want to give your viewers a little technique that can be very liberating for everyone. And it's the technique of blaming effectively. And so what I mean by blaming effectively is, like I said, there's so many things, whether you have a bad relationship with your dad, you have a bad relationship with your mom, you don't think your mom treated you right, you don't think your dad was the greatest parent. Well, let me tell you this. If your mom was the perfect parent, if your dad was a perfect parent and they did everything they were supposed to, you wouldn't be the man or woman you are today. And so blaming effectively, you need, if like I said, if you view a relationship in your past or present that you thought, man, I wish they acted differently, or I wish they treated me better. Well, if you're going to blame someone for all the good, you blame all the bad in your life, you better blame them for all the good. And I promise you that, because if my parents were, different parents, if my parents treated me a different way, I wouldn't be the man I am today. If girls treated me, if girls loved on me, if they always loved on me and gave their love and affection to me when I was young, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Like, everything is happening for you. It's not happening to you. And so that's such liberating when you can get to the point where you can self-reflect on your past and realize all that guck, all that stuff that I thought was so bad, so crappy in the meantime, sculpted me into the man I am today. And I'm thankful for that. And you can even take it a step deeper, and you can even call that person. You can even write a letter to a person that, man, thank you for being who you are, because I wouldn't be the man I am today. Thank you for all the bad, and thank you for all the good, because you have sculpted me into the person I am today. Not only is it liberating, it's so empowering, and that way you don't hold grudges, because a lot of us hold grudges because of people treated us a certain way, but it's so liberating to blame them effectively.
So your haters are your least likely mentors, but then they end up pushing you
Sculpt
through
you.
the harder things. Exactly. Let's talk about sculpting right now. Bodybuilding is your other love.
That was a good transition. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Can you talk about, how you've been able to grow from that sport?
Yeah. So, like I said, I was a chubby kid. I'm an Italian. I love food, and I knew nothing about sports and nutrition. And wrestling was the first step into physical activities. But I always looked up to people that were in shape and had the shredded six pack. And the one thing I'm very good at is having a vision and, committing to my vision and following through on that vision, and always keeping it in mind and really following through on that vision. And so the one thing that I always wanted to do was like, man, one day I want to be shredded, modeling on like a supercar with like a chick, like, like I'm not like a 19, 20-year-old kid, and we think a little bit differently, right? I still think that way. But like, I was like, man, I want to do that. And so after, I had a career in pranking. I was a famous prankster. I was doing Vines, and I was, I gained 1 million followers on Vine, and I realized it didn't fulfill me anymore. And so I was like, I want to do something bigger and better. And so I analyzed the fitness industry, and I said, well, one, you can't buy a fit body. So if I have a fit body, no one can take that away from me. And it's also very marketable because I have no legs, one arm. And also, I don't see any bodybuilder with no legs and one arm bodybuilding. So I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it. And if I do it successfully, people are going to catch on, and I'm going to build a following. And so I started posting fitness videos. And at first, people were like, this is stupid. I love you. I loved you for your pranks. And, why are you doing this? You don't even know how to lift. And that's the thing. I didn't know how to lift. I didn't know how to do any of it. But I'm a firm believer that when you throw yourselves in these uncomfortable situations, it forces yourself to learn. Like when we put our backs against the wall, it forces ourselves to move forward, right? And so my knowledge in training got better. My knowledge in nutrition got better. And my videos started to get a little bit better. My form was better. The weight was going up. My physique started to change, and people started to catch on. And there was even a point where I was paying the top bodybuilding account on Instagram $400 a post to put my videos out there just to get some traction. I didn't have $400 to give them, but I committed. I betted on myself. I knew that if I get myself out there, that I would get a little bit of traction. And so I did. I got a little bit of traction, and I started gaining a following in bodybuilding. And next thing you know, I'm at expos and people know me for bodybuilding. And I'm like, oh my God, I just altered my reality. Like I just created a different reality for myself, a different identity for myself. And that's so cool when people realize like you have every power in you to just shift your identity to alter your reality. And so, I started building a following in bodybuilding, and my physique started to change, and that also built the relationship I had within myself. I was more confident. And, there's an analogy. I love cars. And so say you view your body as a Ferrari, and you're putting regular fuel into a Ferrari. How are you going to perform? You're not going to perform the way a Ferrari's going to perform. And so if you're crushing in a business right now and you're lacking in your health, just imagine how much better you'd be operating in your business if your health was in tune. And then say you're the guy with the shredded six pack or the girl with the shredded six pack, but you're struggling in business. Then you just focus a little bit more on business rather than your fitness, right? You want things to go. You want them to be in tune. And so when we connect our body and our mind, right, because we're connected, when we put the right fuels in our body and we're, feeding our brain with the right fuels, we're going to operate on a way higher level than we ever operated before. And that's why, fitness and bodybuilding is now a staple of my life, because, moving my body, getting my body going, lifting, and always, sculpting my body into the best I can, helps me in business. It helps me in all areas of my life.
So I saw that you were actually, you have a good photo op with The Rock, and you were at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic. Are there any top people in bodybuilding that you really look up to?
Yeah, so when I got started, one of my biggest inspirations was Artemis. We're good friends now, Artemis Dolgan, and he's just a guy who got me into like certain posing and certain ways of just the body looks amazing with symmetry. Artemis, CT Fletcher is always a staple. He was probably the first guy I did a fitness collaboration with. He's just a very aggressive, dude that he's been through, heart surgeries, heart transplants, and still is, lifting now at his age. So super inspirational to me. So, and The Rock is a massive inspiration for me because, like I said, when I met him, we can transition into that. When I met The Rock, I was actually in Vegas for Mr. Olympia. And like I said, I'm a big believer in being guided when you're vibrating. So we're electrical beings, whether you believe it or not, we're electrical beings, and we're vibrating off a certain frequency. And so when you have your goals in mind, when you have your ambitions in mind, and you're clear and concise in your why and where you're going, I feel like we're vibrating off a certain frequency, and we're more inclined to see the networks, opportunities, people, resources that can get us to the next level. And, you ever have a moment in your life when, you met someone at a perfect time, or a perfect opportunity came at a perfect time, and you don't know why? It's because you were guided. It's because you were guided by a higher energy, whatever it is, you were guided. And so I went to the expo Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I decided to chill, and I went to a famous gym in Vegas called City Athletic Club, and it's famous because the lighting makes you look better than what you look like. So it's really dope. And so I went in there, and everyone was crowded around the gym, and I'm like, what's going on? And my buddy goes, dude, The Rock is upstairs lifting. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so I go up there, and lo and behold, there's Dwayne, and he's lifting. And to give a little bit of context, he already knew me from my bodybuilding videos. He already tweeted me, which was pretty cool. And so I told my friends, I said, let's not bother him. If The Rock is who he says he is, he'll come up to me. I stick out like a sore thumb. All I do, he's got to just see me. And I was right. A security guard came up to me and was like, dude, Dwayne wants to meet you. And when I met him, I said, dude, I'm going to do what you did. And he said, what do you mean? I said, people knew you for football, and then WWE wrestling, and then you took over the world. You're everywhere. You're in my dreams. Like, you're on billboards. You're everywhere.
My dreams.
Yeah, you're everywhere. And I said, I'm going to do what you did. And he said, Nick, you're right, because people like you and I, they put us in any industry, and we adapt and overcome. And, that's not just, advice for me. That's advice for everyone. Once we exercise the muscle of pivoting and adapting and overcoming, because the majority of the times in personal life and business, we're going to have a plan, and it's not going to go the way we want it to go. And so we need to exercise the muscle of just pivoting and adapting and overcoming. But he's been a massive inspiration for me because he's a pioneer, bro. Every industry, he's The Rock in every industry. And I want to be Nick in every industry, like entertainment, acting, modeling, singing, whatever it may be. I want to do it all. And I don't want to do it all for the significance and, oh, look at me. I want to do it all because if I can get in front of as many people as I can, I can shift the world, and I can, and I jumped into, or I came to a bottleneck in speaking where I realized there's only a small percentage of the world that goes to personal development seminars or listen to podcasts. And so what better way to reach the masses is than with music. And that's why, right now I've released one song about the comparison epidemic and suicide awareness. It's called Do You Hear Me? My rap name is Santo. So if you type in Do You Hear Me?
I saw
but I'm, so I want to create music that's hot. It's dope. It's great for the kids, but what's the word? Subliminally,
yeah.
Subliminally or subconsciously, right? I'm planting seeds. I'm programming them in a positive way with the mind is a garden. The biggest disability is a bad mindset. Elevate your circle. That's when you will start to grow. Like I want to influence them in the right way through dope music. And I can reach a broader, or I can meet not a broader,
audience,
a bigger audience, right?
Way.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was my next question. We have this synergy. It's crazy. The video talks about comparison and how comparison is the killer of joy.
Yep.
That's what I've read you talking about. And that video alone, is super moving. I was actually talking to my production team earlier today. I watched it and I just had to sit there for a second. I was just like, oh wow, like it was so moving.
Wow, thank you.
And actually, you're a pretty damn good singer too. I was like, wow,
Thanks.
like all things aside, like just the singing part too, like you have another gift there that I was like, oh, okay, cool. So
that's what it freaks me out, dude.
Yeah.
It freaks me, like it just freaks me out that like just like these gifts, like the way that I look at it, I always tell people I can look at life two different ways. Sorry to cut you off real quick, but two different ways I could look at life. One, I'm a freak accident, or two, I was strategically put here because the world's hurting and they need me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think I was just blessed with like these gifts. Like people, like when I released that song, the number one comment I got was, where has this been? Or when did you start singing? We didn't know you could start singing. It was just like, and to give a little background on that, like this was a dream I always had, to be a singer and a rapper. And I tried out for American Idol, The Voice, and I never made it. And I was a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. I was like, I'm going to win American Idol and I'll never have to work again. Like this is going to be so easy. And then I got smacked in the face with reality, right? But I didn't have the confidence in my character to back up my singing. So now I'm at a point where, right, I built this character, I built this avatar of mine, I'm confident. Now I'm at a liberating spot because when I release music, it not only fulfills me, but it's all additional for me. I'm not doing it for a certain amount of money, for a certain amount of likes, a certain amount of views. I just know it's all additional and it's liberating and it's fulfilling. So I think I'm in a very great spot. I'm at a better point in my life to do the music thing than I was when I was 16. Does that make sense? But
your music also has a message. It's just not repeating the same lyric as the hook all the time. Like the thing that this video is about is suicide. And also, once again, you know, the comparison with other people's social media curated best of life that they have online, which is not the reality. And what I think is great about it is you're actually inspiring others who may not have like the confidence that you have at this point, but that was like the younger you, to really kind of pull themselves from the bootstraps and just like, you know, get out there and be confident. And
yeah, absolutely. Because the comparison epidemic is basically suicide rates are skyrocketing. A lot of not only adults but teens basically compare their lowest points of their life to all these highlight reels on Instagram. And also what they're doing is they're getting like, it's toxic because they're cultivating what their view of success is or what their image of success is through Instagram. So like, oh, if I don't have a jet, or if I'm not at a Beverly Hills party, or all these things, I'm not successful if I don't do those things, right? And so I just wanted to basically, like I said, take personal development, put it into super hot songs that are catchy, that people want to listen to and dance to, but also they don't even know that I'm, you know, putting very valuable information into their head.
So let's actually cut to that video, Do You See Me, right now.
You see, the things we see on social media, it's all a mirage. People are only posting their highlight reels, not the struggles, the hardships, the real truth. I want you to remember this. Comparison, it's the thief of joy. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm trying to tell you the truth. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm trying to power the youth. Cause they're telling you lies and you're thinking it's so. When you're comparing your highs, thinking your life is so low. Do you hear me? Whoa. Do you hear me? Whoa. Say my name 3 times like Beetlejuice. Internet's trying to sue me cause I speak the truth. Nowadays suicide rates are through the roof. You don't believe me, ask the youth. There's your proof. Life's a game, man, that's not the way you wanna lose. We got 9-year-olds smart enough to tie a noose. This is a problem, it leaves me restless. You need to listen when I tell you that life is all perspective. Your experience on earth is simply your perception. Perspective, it's everything. No legs, 1 arm, but I got everything. Yeah, and as the thing, I mean the mindset. The majority of the world is handicapped by what the mind says. Do you see? Do you see? This is your superpower. The mind is the garden, so you better plant some flowers. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm trying to tell you the truth. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm trying to power the youth. Cause they're telling you lies and you're thinking it's so. When you're comparing your highs, thinking your life is so low. Do you hear me? Whoa. Do you hear me? Whoa. I said wean out the weeds, wean out the weeds. Let's start living through the human necessities like love, joy, don't forget being grateful. I know life's tough, I know we all have our plates full, but you, man, you could get through it. it. Realize that the hard things are probably worth doing, and those dreams you stopped doing are probably worth pursuing. What you doing? What am I doing? I'm not here for me, I'm here for you. And I'm not here to lie to you, I'm here to speak the truth. Passing my perspective with hopes to empower you. You see, life is a wave and I'm staring at a tidal. I'm just trying to be the light for the kids that are suicidal. That was me, come and step into my shoes. I'll crack the no legs joke first, so technically you lose. But I'm just playing, back to what I was saying. I hope you listen closely to the message I'm relaying. See, you can have it all, the mindset rules it all. You have a choice to win in life, or you can let your hero fall. The great could go away, you could start the day, and I'll be with you every step of every hop of the way. Every hop of the way, I'll be with you every step of every hop of the way. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm trying to tell you the truth. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm trying to power the youth. Cause they're telling you lies and you're thinking it's so. When you're comparing your highs, thinking your life is so low. Do you hear me? Whoa. Do you hear me? Whoa. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm trying to tell you the truth. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm trying to power the youth. Cause they're telling you lies and you're thinking it's so. When you're comparing your highs, thinking your life is so low. Do you hear me?
And we're back. So that video once again gives me goosebumps. When I watched it for the first time, I had to just like sit there, and I did tear up. I'm kind of embarrassed right now to say that, but it just really, it resonated because, you know, pushing, and like you said, that whole comparison thing with, you know, am I at this point in my life at this age, you know, I should have been doing this. Why am I not there?
We all do it.
That's kind of what I saw. Yeah. And I was just like,
and we all do it. Yeah. I want people to take, you know, listeners, take a sense of comfort. We all compare, right? We're programmed, we're primed to compare. Like we've been dropped in an environment with TV and everything. We compare every time. But you know, we were just talking about this. There's always going to be someone better looking, good, you know, have a better body, better house, whatever it may be. So the most important thing, I think, is really defining what is your version of success. Like, dude, some people's version of success is like, I want the jet. I want a jet set. You know, I want to live a baller life. And some people are like, I want to have like a dope house with like a dog and like I'm good. And a car. Like, dude, do whatever your version of success is, whatever fulfills you. And I think one of the things that even happened in my entrepreneurship, you know, journey is getting a version of success from what I thought, like basically taking in someone else's version of success and thinking that's what it was. And it put me off to a wrong path. And so I want your listeners to just ask yourself, like, what is my version of success, you know, and what does that look like to me? And as long as you're meeting you're working towards your version of success, then you'll live a fulfilled life. But if you're always comparing, you know, other people's success and, oh man, he's 23 and he's doing all this stuff, I should be doing it by then. It's all BS. You know, create your own, you make your own legacy. And my story is no more powerful or higher up on the scale than your story. Everybody has a unique story, and your story is, any less. Like, your story is not any less than mine.
One of the most powerful videos that I saw in your speaking journey, there's two. One is you're in front of this huge crowd, like 10,000 people, and I think it's in China maybe, I don't know, but they're repeating what you're saying, and it just is like, when the camera pans, you're just like, oh my God, there's a lot of people. Now there's like more. Now there's like this giant 180-degree view of only people. You look like you're like at like the biggest concert ever. And then it goes back to you and you're like, yeah, it's super awesome. But then the other really great video is, what I want you to elaborate on is when you were with Tony Robbins. Talk about that experience and how you guys partnered up.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one, the China video, I actually leave for China. So I'm actually November 7th through the 10th. 7th through the 10th. 7th through the 10th, I'll be in Miami with Tony speaking at UPW. It'll be my biggest stage of 14,000. So super pumped up for that. And then from Miami, I fly back to China to tour. And so that video of the 10,000, that is me in a city called Mianyang. And that was a university. It was over 10,000 students. And they're like the top tier students. They know English very well. And so I was basically repeating back our takeaway sentences from the speech. And so, yeah, super grateful. And I have a big sweet spot and a big spot in my heart for China, because in China, they're not exposed to people like me. Kids that are born are either institutionalized, they're thrown on the streets, or they're killed, or they're shunned. And so when they see someone like me living a fulfilled life and, doing all these things, it's so empowering. And it's like, it's a unicorn on steroids for them. It's just like, it's unreal. And so, yeah, we toured China for speaking. And then the Tony Robbins video, to give some background on that, when we first started our company, actually before we even started a company, when I met my two guys, one of the first things they said was, you could be on stage with Tony Robbins. And to be fully transparent, I didn't know who Tony was, and I wasn't a speaker. I wasn't a speaker. Through just laying the bricks every day, and building the speaking company, we knew nothing about speaking. We were cold calling car dealerships. Do you need a pep talk? No one knew who I was at all. So we laid bricks. My speaking abilities got better, the way I communicate with people. The tools, that getting more tactical. I'm still trying to get more tactical, something that I'm working on, and more business-like. But just evolving on the road and speaking, 50, 60 times a day. I meant not a day, a year. Whether it's free at first, whatever it may be, we were just laying bricks and trying to build credibility, establish credibility. And then I went to one of Tony's events because my buddies have crewed there, and they went there like, you need to go to his events. So I went to his events, and our intent was to meet him. And we were able to finesse and just, we're very good at just making things happen and just getting to the right people, to be honest. And we were able to meet him backstage with only 8 other people. And he invited me to his next seminar, which was Date with Destiny. I went to Date Destiny, attended it, went through it. And then we just always told his team, we got to his the people that make some moves. We were just like, hey, if there's anything we could do for you, we're always around. And then a couple months later, hey, we do a youth event in San Diego. Tony won't be there, but it's basically for youth leaders. We want you to speak. So I was like, perfect, a foot in the door. I speak, they loved it. And then we're like, hey, UPW, or if Tony ever needs Nick, he's always here. And then we didn't hear from him for a little bit. We kind of kept on him, didn't hear anything. And then a couple months ago, they were like, hey, Tony and us were thinking about speakers to bring on to, add to the seminar, and your name came up. Can we work together? And I was like, oh my God, so we started working together, started sending voice memos back and forth of where I would speak and where it would be congruent. And what's pretty cool is they were like, Tony wants you. Well, first they had me speak on day 4. So that is the day where Tony doesn't speak. He's not there. So he does day 1 and 3. And so day 4, they're like, we want you to speak on basically changing your physiology and your wrestling story and all these things. And so that was like their tester, right? So I did it in Dallas. It was a couple thousand people, and I spoke on day 4. They loved it. And then they came back. We're like, can you speak on day 1 with Tony?
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And it's a testament because Tony doesn't allow anyone to speak on day 1 when he speaks. Mm-hmm. And they said the only way Tony would allow a speaker on day 1 is if he's absolutely certain that they can keep the energy as high as he keeps it. And so that was like him believing in me. And so I went out. That video that you saw, that was my first time of me and him touching the stage together. So basically, Tony's on stage for 12, 13 hours that day. And so anytime that he can get a break or get some body work backstage, he's always in. And so he came off stage. I didn't see him come off stage. And then, they brought me on stage, and they were saying, when we give you the 2 thumbs up, that's when Tony's ready to get back on stage. So, that's when you wrap up. And so, I just came out there and I just channeled, I channeled from the higher power, and, whatever I say flows through me, and I just hype the crowd up and I do my thing. And, I burned it down. And then it was funny because I was hyping the crowd up at the end, and backstage they thought I said Tony's name. And so here comes Tony walking out on the stage, and I had no idea he was behind me. So I'm like, wow, I'm freaking out. And then I turn around, and it's Tony Robbins. And I'm like, I say it on the mic. I'm like, oh my God, he's here. And I said, come over here. And I give him a big hug. And I'm like, and it was cool because, I wasn't there for significance, right? I wasn't there for everyone to look at me. And so immediately when I hugged him, and we came off the hug, he said, "Give it up for me," and I said, "Give it up for Tony" at the same time. So I was like, "Give it up for him," and he was like, "Give it." So like we gave each other like the crowd to love on us. And then, I walked away. Well, I shook his hand and I looked at him and I said, "Thank you." And he's "Thank you, brother." And I walked off and he turned around and he said, "Give it up for him," in the crowd, So it was super dope for that to come. And that was something that we manifested and had a vision of for a very long time. And, I visualized myself on the stage so many times before I went on. And that way, when I walked down stage in front of thousands of people, that I was like, oh, I've already been here, And so that's the long-winded, answer of the Tony Robbins video. And the one thing I want to wrap up about that is 2 years ago, no one knew who I was. No one knew who I was. We were cold calling car dealerships and people thought I was a joke. And so that is the power of having a vision and realizing that you're the only one that needs to believe in your vision and you need to bet on yourself. And so I did the work. I sculpted my presentation. I'm being a student of the game. I'm becoming, a better communicator even every day, just seeing how I could provide more value to people. And that's how I was able to get on that stage. Tony wouldn't put a man with no legs and one arm out on the stage just because they got no legs and one arm. That's not the way he rolls. You need to be able to perform. And so that's just a true testament of, dropping your ego and just being a student of the game and laying bricks every day.
So what is the most moving thing to you that you can think of on this journey so far? You've hit all these milestones. What moves you the most, almost to tears, when you think about it?
Yeah. Even an event the event that's coming up. So the event that's coming up in Miami, is going to be a very special event near dear to my heart because, not only my team will be there, my best friend will be there. My best friend in security will be there. My parents will be there. My girlfriend will be there. Everyone will be there. Besides my sisters and brothers, they won't be there. But my parents have only seen me speak in front of probably 500 people. And so they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And when I walk out on a stadium in front of 14,000 people and they're like, oh my God, look at my son, right? That's going to kind of move me because, they've seen the evolution. They've seen the come up. Like I said, man, I was a no one. I was a bodybuilder and people knew me for bodybuilding, but when they talk personal development, my name was not in the mix. And now, people are labeling me as one of the best communicators alive, and it kind of blows my mind. And I don't say that to boast. I'm just like, that gets me emotional. And also, there was a moment in China where I was speaking, and part of the audience attendance was a school, a younger school. I forget what they call it, a primary school. Of some top tier kids, but they were young kids. And at the end they came up and this little girl, in perfect English, she was reading English, and then, her other student would translate in Chinese for the audience. But she was like, we watch your videos every day. We watch your videos in the classroom, and you are the true example of never giving up and really making the best out of your situation. And we want to be like you. And I started crying on stage. It totally, took me off guard. And, that's what gets me emotional, is really seeing people have lasting change of when I do my seminars or when I do the workshops or the masterminds, whatever it may be. When people really make a drastic change in your life for the better and they look at the world differently, or they have a breakthrough, they have a transformation, that gets me emotional because, I just want to help. I just want to help people, and with me helping people, and not only makes me fulfilled, and I bring value, so I get paid for it, but it's just overall just an amazing feeling to be able to alter someone else's reality, and make them realize that they have everything inside of them to do whatever they want to do.
I want to just tell you, and I think I said this earlier, but my daughters were having a hard time recently, and I actually showed those videos of you doing amazing things, and just it helped me actually parent my kids, which sounds kind of crazy, but I was like, look at this guy. He is a fighter. He's got confidence. He's pushing. You guys can do this. I don't know how to explain it, but it was such this amazing thing to be able to the fact that even though there's this whole comparison problem with social media, you're the great part about social media.
Thank you.
Your message can reach all these people and inspire them, even if you don't know. You're sleeping and your message is still hitting other people all around the world. And
thank you.
I think that, if I can help in any way to spread that, and also all these other different speaking engagements, and then what you're doing, it just makes me happy too, to spread the awareness on what you do and your message.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
I want to segue into our next part of the show, which is about, our social media audience has questions for you. So
Awesome.
the first question that I see that they have is, how does gratitude play into your life?
Absolutely. So, a lot of times we go through the motions, right? We're going to work, we come home, like a couple of days fly by. Like we sometimes we get in a rut or we go through the motions. And the reason why we use gratitude and why it's so important is because the emotion of gratitude outweighs all the negative emotions. And so it's emotionally impossible for you to feel flustered, angry, mad, sad, whatever it may be, and grateful at the same time. And so if you find yourself in a moment where you're angry, you're flustered, you're sad, you got to reflect on moments you're grateful for, because it'll always ground you and bring you back home. And oftentimes, I think gratitude and perspective are the biggest things that will ground us and always keep us grounded. And so, that's why I use gratitude. And I think we can all agree there's a lot of ungrateful kids, getting raised nowadays in the world, not getting raised, just a lot of ungrateful people nowadays. And like I said, sometimes we forget about the fact that we woke up today and like really, really just like, oh my God, like I'm a human and I'm in this body and I have consciousness, and we don't know what consciousness is. And we're floating on a rock and it's spinning around the universe and we don't even know what the universe is. It kind of dwindles our problems away, the things that we think are problems, right? And so in those moments when we're thinking about our problems or challenges or whatever it may be, I always go back to gratitude, because it's like the things that we complain about on a day-to-day basis aren't problems. We self-inflict our problems. We create our own problems in our head. And so when we can, reflect back or go back to gratitude, it'll just get us in a better headspace to operate and to, go throughout the day. And so, you can wake up on the wrong side of the bed. And if you don't catch your thoughts, if you don't catch your patterns, if you're not self-aware of the way you're operating, your whole day tends to be negative. And so that's why we need to wake up, because our brain is designed to be negative. Like it's designed to be negative. It's designed to, keep us from the saber-toothed tigers, that were going to kill us 2,000 years ago, which we don't have any saber-toothed tigers no more. So our new fears are like fear of what people think of us, or, the social media epidemic. Like there's so many things that are new fears. And so just starting your day off with gratitude, and what would your days look like if you did that? What would your kids' days look like that, if you did that? What would they look like in school? How would they operate if they were, filled up with gratitude? How would your team members in your business look like if before a meeting you guys went through your daily wins or your weekly wins or your monthly wins or things you were grateful for about your family? Like, you want people to operate better, you get them to be more grateful and to be more purpose driven.
So the next question, I love that answer too. And I totally agree with gratitude is such an important anecdote to being in that funk, in that. So our next question is, what is the value of self-love?
Yeah, the value of self-love. So if you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. Like there's going to be a barrier, there's going to be conflict. And so, like I said, the most important relationship we need to be working on is the one within ourselves. And so self-love, self-praise. As hustlers and winners, which a lot of people, I guess a lot of people listening are hustlers and winners. And I think we beat ourselves up the most in our inner dialogue, right? I think we can agree that we're always beating ourselves up in our inner dialogue. And like, how empowering is that? It's not empowering. And so we need to realize the power of our inner dialogue and our self-praise and our self-love. And, even I find myself like, when's the last time, like, good job, Nick? When's the last time I told myself good job? Like, I don't even remember. And that's bad. That's not good. And so like, I'm being fully transparent. That's something that I need to work on. And so, we need to start, you can literally install, self-praise into your nervous system. Like, say you don't like the gym, right? Say you want to be healthy, you want to be fit, but you don't like the gym. Like if you go work out and you're walking out of the gym, you're like, man, that was tough. And that wasn't, that's not going to be good. But if you walked out of the gym, you're like, good job, Nick. that felt good. You are going to start installing a positive feeling behind that action, that motion, right? And so like I had like a pain attached to learning. Like I wasn't very good at school. That was my limiting belief. I was stupid because I didn't like school. Typical entrepreneur, like I didn't like school, right? And so I had like a pain attached to learning. And I was like, oh, I'm not a good reader. That was the beliefs I started creating because of that pain. But then I realized, like I would read a book. I'm like, good. I'd read a couple pages. I'm like, good job, Nick. Or I would start looking at, every time I finish a book, like that's like a trophy on my wall. Like I totally rephrased the way that I look at learning because I didn't like learning. I didn't like books. But if we read books that are congruent with what we're working on and things that we're passionate about, And I started reframing. I'm like, man, you know, I'm going to make a trophy case of books and I want to rack up as many books as I can read. Like, I've never thought like that. You know, I've never thought like that, but it's because I'm installing a new feeling to that action. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're
And so like,
your mindset.
yeah, reprogramming your mindset and reprogramming it into your nervous system. And so, you know, I want you guys to even implement this, is like start self-praising more. You know, when you do something, not only physically applaud yourself, but mentally applaud yourself. Good job, Nick. Like, this is great. You're fantastic. Like, when's the last time you looked in the mirror and said, dude, I love you. Like, you're incredible. Like, we don't do that. And people think it's stupid, but like, it's powerful, bro. Like, there's a one thing, you know, this guy, Joseph McClendon III, he's a great speaker. And one of the things he always has people do, he goes, repeat after me. And he'll go, I freaking rock. And like, it makes me feel good. And so like, dude, I start my day, I'm like, I freaking rock, you know, look in the mirror, I freaking rock. And like, that fires you up. And like, that's self-love. And when you go throughout the day, when you're vibrating off your own self-love and your own awesome sauce, he calls it, like, dude, you're on a whole nother level, bro. You're on a whole nother level. And so that's the power of self-love. And if you're looking for love, don't look for love. Like, love yourself. And when you're on purpose, you're going to attract the right women. You're going to attract the right men. You're going to attract the right teammates when you're on purpose and you're just like, you're loving yourself. And people will be around you because they know you love yourself. You know, like, they want to be around people that love on themselves. No one wants to be around people that are always negative and beating themselves up.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree that it's contagious. Positive energy is contagious. And if you love yourself, you can love other people, but you have to start with you. Our next question is talking about how, you know, how do you drown out the outside noise to like get to the next level? Yeah,
absolutely. And so you have two choices with the outside noise. You can let it affect you, or you can let it drive you. And so, you know, you can either let it get it down, or you can attach a different meaning behind it and realize, yeah, like, oh, that's motivation. That's drive. You know, like, just watch, like, kind of the just watch mentality. You know, my buddies that I'm in business now, in their first business venture, they would write down a list of all the people on their whiteboards, all the people that doubted them and hated on them. And then when they were working and laying the bricks and doing the things that they don't want to do, they would look up and be like, yeah, like, you know, like, yeah, you know, saying words that we're not going to say on here, but, you know, like, you know, using it as motivation. And so if it's in your life, use it for good. You know, realize, like you said, that the hot air balloon, that was a segment, realizing like you're the captain of your hot air balloon. And, you know, you have the ability to take that energy, because right now we're floating through plain energy. We dictate whether something's negative or positive by the way we react to it.
So let's talk about, I know you've talked about this on Tom Bilyeu and other different interviews you've been in, but like, with advances in prosthetics, what do you see as your future? If you do get something that fits, like, you know, perfectly, will you wear prosthetics?
Yeah. So it's funny because to describe what went on my mind when you said that question was like an Iron Man suit. So like, you know, I already have acting ideas, you know, I already have like movie ideas that I want to be in movies and stuff, and like, you know, be a modern day Avenger and, you know, like, I beat some villain butt and then I jump into my spacesuit and I fly away. That's what came to my mind. But yeah, fitness, you know, when I was 14 and 15, that was like the biggest physical challenge, was being able to move the prosthetics, because they were 7.5 pounds each and I don't have much quad. And so I had legs, for those listening, I had prosthetic legs, but they were just too heavy and I wasn't strong enough. My lower back, my abs, my obliques, I was an out of shape kid. And so now that I know the importance behind bodybuilding and I mean, just health in general and building muscles and all the muscles that go into you guys standing up, you know, whether you know it or not, because you've walked your whole entire life. Eventually, yeah, I want to get back into my prosthetics and kind of just shock the world. Like, no one really knows about it. No one knows when it's going to happen. I haven't told anyone when it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but when it happens, I'm going to shock the world and I'm going to do it. And so, yeah, I like to walk around with some legs and stuff. But I also know that if I was born normal, I wouldn't have the impact. You know, I wouldn't be doing the amazing things I am today, because, you know, I've been put in this strategic body for a reason, and my soul knew that I can handle it and make some magic out of it. And so I'm just like, you know, there's often a question, like, if you could have a full body, like, would you be reborn? And I'd be like, no, you know, I'm good. Like, I'm good the way I am. And I'm you know, I'm good. But yeah, I'd definitely like to get into some prosthetics.
So one of our popular segments is, pretend this is a time machine right now. If you could talk to your younger self, the younger Nick.
Yeah, Nick, I just want to let you know that, you know, you may not see the big picture right now. You know, you may not see the big picture. You may think your situation's so bad, but I promise you that it's going to be the one thing that's going to help you leave the biggest, impact on the world. And, I know you're struggling with your confidence, and that, girls don't like you and you think you're disgusting, but, you're going to be on such a big purpose that people are just going to want to be around you and gravitate towards you. And people are just going to want to love on you because you give so much to the world. And I know you don't see it now, Nick, but you have so much inside of you, and you've been strategically put here. And I know you don't see it right now, but there's such a bigger picture that, that it is destined for you. And you're just going to have such a massive impact. Way bigger than you probably think I'm crazy talking to you right now, Nick, but it's going to be massive, and you're going to do some crazy things. You just gotta hold on and most importantly, just build yourself up, just build yourself up and create yourself into the beast that you are today. Well, that I am today, because I'm talking to Nick.
Damn, that was heavy. That was good.
That's good.
Yeah, that's
I like it.
That's like highlight reel stuff. Like, I love it.
I think everyone should do that exercise. Everyone listening, I think you should go speak to your younger self in the way that I just did. That was dope.
I actually did the opposite. I was going to heart surgery, and I spoke to my future self, trying to say, "Hey, you can do this." And it was really weird because I was talking to myself as if it had already happened, but it was the night before I had heart surgery.
Wow.
And then after the surgery happened, I watched that video on the other side after I had gone through all the rehabilitation that I needed, all that, and I lost it.
Wow.
It's crazy to like the impact of the video. It was a time machine. Like it allowed me to communicate to my older self. And it just was like, it still is one of the things that gets me from like, it moves me every time when I talk.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So, all right. So let's talk about another segment here in our show, which is the vault secrets. A lot of people think the secrets to success are, money, fame, fortune. I don't believe in that. I think it's the knowledge that I'm getting from you and that we get from all of our other guests. What would you say are your vault secrets that you can help to unlock for success?
Yeah, fulfillment. I think we're all everyone thinks it's the cars. Everyone thinks it's the jets. It thinks it's the watches, the girls, whatever it may be. But what we're really chasing is the emotion of how it makes us feel, right? And so like you buy a car and it makes you feel good for a little bit, but then it's like, oh, it's just my car. It's quick fix. And so what we're really chasing is the emotion, and it's the emotion of happiness. If you ask, the majority of the people in the world, like, what do you want in life? They want to be happy. And so how you be happy is you live a life of fulfillment, and how you live a life of fulfillment is you grow every day and you contribute. Like these are the two top things that we need to do in order to live a fulfilled life. Tony has a quote, "Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure." We've met millionaires and billionaires that have all the money in the world, have everything, and they're still empty. Why is that? Because they're not doing something that fulfills them. And so my secret would be to always chase that thing that fulfills you, that makes you feel good inside. Whether you need to, work a 9 to 5 for a little bit and work on your dream afterwards, but do something that fulfills you. That's the reason why I do music. Like I have no expectation with music, but it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel good inside. And then I can create something that's liberating. And so I think that's like the big secret is everyone thinks it's like the cars and the houses. It's the validation, it's the significance, but it's the fulfillment that we're chasing. And how we do that is we find out what makes us feel good, what makes us feel fulfilled. We grow as a person each and every day, and we look for any ways that we can contribute. And that's not always money. That's a hug. That's a compliment, nice shoes, like whatever it may be. We can contribute in so many different ways. And to piggyback off contribution is, you can literally, so what we do is if you went into public, right, and you see someone who's pissed off, this is called a pattern interrupt. If you go into, a store and you see someone's pissed off, you see a friend who's pissed off, and you go up to them and you like tickle them, or you do something that totally throws their focus off, right? And they start laughing, and they're not focusing on being pissed off. That's called a pattern interrupt. And when you pattern interrupt someone, what you create in the mind is called a stacoma. And basically that's a blank spot. And that allows you to implement, basically put in anything positive. Like it's a space in the mind where you have now the opportunity to implant something positive into their life. And so say someone's sitting there and they're pissed off, and you see that they're pissed off, and you go up and you say, you blow in their ear, you do something funny, and they laugh. Then your next words are going to stick with them because you opened up that stachoma, you opened up that space in their brain to implant whatever you want to implant. But a lot of times if someone's in a pissed off state and you're trying to talk to them, they're not going to receive what you're really saying. But when you break their pattern by, making them laugh or tickling them or screaming at them or scaring them, like it's just a fun tool to basically break through people's patterns and then implant something good into their life. And so that was just like a piggyback, a little bonus off the end. But I think we're all chasing the emotion of happiness, the emotion of fulfillment, right?
The last question I have for you is, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook at Nick Santonastasso. If you type in Nick Santo, I'm the guy with the really long last name and no legs, so you probably can't miss me. And yeah, so you can find me. You can find me all over there. It's been my pleasure to have you as our guest, and we look forward to just learning more about you and all of the things that you stand for down the road. So take care. Thank you so much. Thank you, brother. I'm grateful for the opportunity. All right, we'll follow up soon.
All right, so if you guys want to be a guest on this show, we would love to have you. We're looking for people, once again, top in the entertainment, sports, and business industry, inspirational content, people who are movers and shakers. We want you on our show, and thanks again for watching The Vault.